everyone. I'm back with another haul today, and as usual, I will have the timestamps below. I'm going to start with all of my non-BL and then go through all of my BL, and I have a little bit of merch, but I'm going to get right into it. First, I have Volume 10 of See You in My 19th Life. I'm really excited as I get each volume of this series getting closer and closer to completion. We have 2 volumes to go to complete this series, and I don't remember if it's the end of this volume or the end of volume 11 that finishes the main story, and then there are going to be side stories. But looking forward to the last 2 volumes to complete the series. This is one that when I had originally read it, I think I read through volume 8, maybe volume 7. And I was so hooked by the story that I then read it digitally through to the end because I just had to know how it was going to end, what was going to happen. So I did really enjoy this series. As the title indicates, See You in My 19th Life, the story starts with the female lead in her 18th life. She's still a young girl, but her life is cut short, and the story picks up then in her 19th life. And when she regains her memories of her 18th life, she is determined to reconnect with someone from her previous life who is now just a little older than her present life because of her quick reincarnation this time. But when I first got into this series, I thought it was just going to be entirely romance-focused and have an office setting, which it does have an office setting and it is romance-focused, but the underlying plot of the story is very much a mystery and drama and pretty exciting as it relates to the female lead's death in her 18th life. But I forgot to mention this cover does have 2 side characters on it, so this isn't the female lead. This is the side couple, and as the story went, I did become quite fond of them. Villains Are Destined to Die, Volume 3, and this is the novel. I'm really excited to read this. I have already read the first 2 novels, and they've been really exciting, really dramatic, and I especially liked Volume 2, the developments in Volume 2, kind of more action-focused, and getting to know another one of the characters that I had barely met in Volume 1, so then when I was comparing all of the different guys in it, then in Volume 2, I finally got to know that character better, but excited to see where the story is going to go. I haven't read the manhwa, so the novel is my first experience with this series, but the story follows a girl who is in university who stays up all night playing a video game, and it's really easy. She beats it really quickly, and then she tries it on hard mode, and it's extremely difficult. The setup of the game is like a dating sim, and so there are different guys that she is trying to gain affection points from. But on hard mode, she plays as the antagonist, and rather than trying to gain their affection so that they will love her, she is trying to gain their affection so that they don't kill her. But so she plays all night and can't beat the game on hard mode, falls asleep, and then wakes up in the game on hard mode as the antagonist who is trying to not get killed by these 5 guys that are the main characters in the story, or male leads in the story. But I'm planning to read this soon. I was hoping to get to it this month, but I'm kind of on a danmei bender. I just finished binging through the last of the MXTX series that I hadn't read, so I had finished Heaven Official's Blessing and Scum Villain in April, and then in May I finished the main story of MDZS. And then I just finally finished the extras this week, and I feel so accomplished that I finished those. And then I have these other in-between volumes that I've been trying to stay caught up on. And then there's one new danmei series I'm trying to finish by the end of the month. And I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to, so I'm trying to prioritize some of those TBR reads. And then I get more novels in, and I just want to stop everything and read them. So I'm not sure yet if I'm going to try to squeeze this in before I get to that new series or not, but I'm really looking forward to reading this. I think this is going to be 5 volumes because there are 5 male leads and they each have a cover. But I don't know with Ice Press release if they're going to do a 6th volume. I don't remember if there are side stories or any extras, because I have seen another language edition where the female lead also has a cover illustration. So I feel like it's going to be either 5 volumes or 6 volumes, but we'll see. But looking forward to getting to this one soon. Oh, and I had forgotten to mention that even though the girl is in modern day university student, when she's brought into the game has a historical royalty setting. So it's very much, as you can see, he's in armor, and it is not set in the modern day, but the memories and the mindset of the female lead is a present-day girl. Another novel that I'm so excited to get to, but I just am not sure if I'm going to read it this month or if I'm going to try to finish my TBR and then get to it. I don't know. I might squeeze it in because I've been so excited for volume 3 of Under the Oak Tree. And this is the novel. I'm so excited to read it. It's going to be new content for me. The first print of the series for the novel volumes have sprayed edges. So I'm trying to stay on top of it so that I don't miss one of the releases and end up getting just white edges because I want all of them to have sprayed edges. But the novel is the mature edition. The comic version of Under the Oak Tree is not rated mature. So I've been thoroughly enjoying this read through. I had been following the comic with its digital release before the novel started printing in English. So it was a real treat to catch up with the content that I had already read in the comic, to read it in the novel because it was mature, so it had extra spicy scenes, but then also just typically with novels that are then adapted to comic and I enjoy the comic, I'll almost always enjoy the novel a little more because of just extra detail and more of a deep dive into the perspective of the characters and their inner monologue. But I'm really excited to continue the story with where volume 2 left off. So I probably will try to squeeze this in this month because I'm really excited about it. But thank you so much to Inklore for sending me this early copy. I did have it pre-ordered because I didn't want to miss out, but I'm so happy I got it early. Another reason why I should prioritize it because I got an early copy, so I should read it as soon as possible. But I love this cover. The volume 3 was the first volume that was going to use a different artist. So volumes 1 and 2 are by one artist, and then volume 3, they started using a different artist. I don't know why, but I like the first 2 volumes covers, but I also like this cover. And then I think it's volume 4 is going to be Riften on the cover. I'm so excited to have it, and I'm excited about to find out what the quote is going to be for volume 4. They might have told us already with the cover reveal, so I'll have to double check. But Under the Oak Tree, it follows this girl, our female lead, who is mistreated her entire life and then is arranged to be married to this lowly knight who wouldn't do her family any favors, with connections, except for that her father is going to be called to a war, and if she marries this knight, they can call the knight instead of him. So he's just 2 birds with 1 stone, getting rid of his daughter, getting rid of her knight husband to take his responsibility. But then this knight, when he goes to war, has such a huge impact on the war and becomes this famous hero. And then when he comes back, she's just been living at home this whole time and never went to her husband's estate to manage things while he was away at war. So there's a lot of misunderstandings. She's super insecure because of just being mistreated her whole life and just thinking, my husband doesn't know anything about me, and once he finds out the kind of person that I am, he's not going to love me. He's going to want to get rid of me. So just the series so far has been her kind of getting to know her husband, trying to build her self-esteem, trying to become a competent woman who can manage her husband's estate. And it's been so exciting because I just really love Riften, and Riften loves her so much. So I'm really excited to see, as the story continues, the development of the relationship and just her own character growth throughout. So looking forward to reading this one. The next is another early copy, Advanced Readers Edition of Daughter of a Thousand Faces. So thank you so much, Inklore. I'm really excited to see what the release is going to look like for this because this is an ARC. And it's in black and white and it's paperback, but the official release is going to be hardcover and full color. So I'm really excited to see how the book is going to look. I feel like it's going to be really luxe and I'm really excited to see it. I did read this right away when I got it because I was excited to see what it was about, but also because I recognize this artist. The author of this series is the same artist that did the cover illustrations for the paperback release of the Scum Villain Self-Saving System. as well as the inside art pages that were used for the paperback release and the hardcover edition. So as soon as I got this and looked through the book a little bit and saw the art style, I was like, this looks so familiar. And then I had to look up the artist and I made that connection. But this is volume 1, so a brand new series that's going to be coming to print in August, releases August 25th. The story follows this girl in the first couple pages. She is little, I think she's like 5 or something, and she's looked down on because she doesn't have a good foundation for cultivation and just managing her spiritual energy, and her father is just very disappointed. She has a huge family because her father has a ton of wives, a ton of kids. So she is just the lowest esteemed of all of them. But while she's still very young, like 5 or 6 years old, her mother is executed for treason. And then she's treated even more poorly following that. But then there's a time skip to her as a teenager. I think she's 16 through the rest of the volume. But she meets this guy who she accidentally helps release him from a seal. And he's actually an antagonist who has been locked down there by her father. Like 80 years ago, he's been locked down here. And he's a demon who is like a master of disguise because of being able to wear masks of people's faces. But because she accidentally helps him escape, he takes her on as a disciple to train her. And meanwhile, as she is improving in her like cultivation, all of her relatives are starting to take notice of her. People in the community are starting to notice her. And she's feeling like it's a misunderstanding and is trying to not catch anyone's attention. But she is improving with her strength and just her abilities. And she catches her father's attention as well. And now he is finally giving her the time of day. But the story's pretty exciting. She's a fun character. But I really like the demon. I already closed the book, but he looks so much like Tiang Lanjun from Scum Villain. And so just the second I saw him, I was like, ah! But really excited to continue the story. When I finished this, I almost just continued with the digital release. I think it is on Tapas. So this collects through volume 20 of the webcomic. I think right now there are like 90 or 90 something chapters out, and it's ongoing. So I'm excited to see more about this release. But I love that in the back we got some extra illustrations, and they'll be in full color for the official release. But and there's like a Q&A with the author and extra illustrations. So very cool. So really excited to see what the official release is going to look like. I have a feeling it's going to be super luxe, just like the Under the Oak Tree release has been so nice. But I'm just not sure what to expect because with the black and white paper or black and white pages, I don't know if the paper is different. Like if when it's a hardcover release, is it going to be thicker or is it going to be like pretty skinny? But yeah, enjoyed this one. Excited for the upcoming release, August 25th. And thank you so much, Inklore, for this early copy. Next is a magazine issue, and I actually got this like a month and a half ago or maybe 2 months ago. And then I put it on my shelf and forgot to share it in a haul video. And then I remembered, so I thought I'll just include it in this haul. But this is Comic Gene issue for June 6th or June 2020. And this was such an exciting find for me because this was the last Comic Gene issue that I needed to have all of the Love of Kill cover illustrations. So now I have all of them. I had had this magazine issue on my ISO for like years. I was actively looking for it every time I went on Mercari Japan or Surugaya when I had an order open through Neokyo. I would do a few searches on different retailer sites, and I just never found anything. So then with that last order, I found a listing, and I couldn't believe it because I had just been looking for so long. So I ordered it, and during the time that I was waiting, where it was at the warehouse and then consolidating and then shipping internationally, I was like expecting, oh, it's going to come and it's not going to be the right thing, or it's going to be like, sometimes people will cut the magazines and will just sell like the cover with a few pages that has the chapter from that issue in it. So it wasn't until I got my package and I opened it and I saw it and I held it and I was like, it's here. So really happy to have this now. It's complete in my collection. On my Love of Kill shelf, I have all the covers for Comic Gene that have Love of Kill, and they're also the illustrations on the spine. I know that there are some releases that have back cover illustrations, and I only have one Love of Kill back cover illustration, and I haven't been serious about collecting them because they're not on the spines. So it will not be as aesthetic to have on my shelf because it won't have a Love of Kill spine. And most of the back cover illustrations already have the illustrations in the art book, which I do have. But down the road, I might try to pick them up if I can find secondhand listings. But for now, I'm just thrilled to have picked up the last one. I did a little post on Instagram to celebrate, and I have all the spines lined up of the other Comic Gene issues. But super happy to have this one. Love of Kill is one of my favorite series. Ringha, the male lead, is my favorite anime manga character. I reread the series every year on his birthday in December. It's a josei action series that follows an assassin and a bounty hunter, and the connection they have with their pasts and just kind of the shared things that they've gone through and how that affects their futures, and just the found family dynamic and the bits of romance that we get as well. So really love this series and super, super happy to have this one now. Another bit of merch that was in that same Japan haul that I forgot to share because I had put it all on my shelf is for the series Kono Oto Tomare. I was thinking, oh, I can spread it across and it will look really aesthetic, but I couldn't do it. But there was recently an event for Kono Oto Tomare where they had these packs of standees. Ah, they're so cute. So they were blind bags or blind pulls for the standees and for these Polaroid cards. And I really didn't want to do the blinds because I never have much luck with blinds. And there were a couple characters I really, really wanted to get. And being in America and this series not having an English license, I didn't think I'd be able to have people to trade with if I found things and I wanted to trade for other characters. So I ended up just picking up the full sets for the standees and for the prints. So I got all of these, all of the characters. I haven't set all of them up yet because I'm still kind of debating where I'm going to put them, because I feel like it will look really cluttery if I just line them all up on my shelf. I do collect the series in Japanese, but I wanted for sure to get Chika and Tetsuki. They're my favorite characters, and Takinami Sensei. So I had to have them. So that's why I bought the full set instead of just getting the individuals. But then I also wanted to get her so that she could be with Chika. And then I also wanted to get him because he's the president of the club. And then his girl. And then the 3 delinquents. So, yeah. These are all other side characters. They all go to different schools, and then they're adults that have an impact on the Koto Club. But it was most important that I got these ones. So I'm really happy that I got them. I'm still just every year that goes by, I cannot believe that this series hasn't gotten picked up for English release yet. It is a Jump title, so I feel like if it gets picked up, it's going to be picked up by Viz. Either with the Shonen Jump line or something, because it is a Shonen series. It's in Jump Comics. When we went to Japan, they had merch for this series at the Jump store, along with One Piece and Haikyuu and Naruto. But this series isn't even on the Shonen Jump app, so I'm not feeling optimistic about it. It is a club series, high school set. It's not romance focused, but it does have romance. But I just feel like compared to all of the like battle shonen series that are so popular, this would maybe not be as popular. I mean, I love it, but I really hope it will get an English print release someday. It does have an anime adaptation, and I wish more people knew about this series and loved it, but had to get these so that I could have them represented on my shelf. I love this series, and I love them so much. Okay, moving into some BL series. I actually have one BL manhwa and then a bunch of novels. So first I have 7 Sundays. This is an upcoming release and I was able to get an early copy. Thank you so much, Ice Press, for sending me this. I really enjoyed this. It releases July 21st for volume 1, and I believe this is going to be 2 volumes. The series is already complete with its digital release. I can't remember, I think it was on Tapas, but I read this as soon as I got it because I didn't really know anything about it, and then as soon as I looked into it, I was like, this looks really cute. So I dove right in. I had never heard of this series, and the week before I got this in the mail, I had seen some Instagram posts talking about this series, and all I knew was that it was a BL series and the cover illustration, and my first thought was that it was a sports series. And I think I was influenced because it reminded me of Haikyuu. So I was like, oh, he must be like a volleyball player or like a coach or something. But no, he is a firefighter and he's like in his early or like mid-20s. But the series starts with a really heroic rescue. And he's able to rescue this child from a building and has an emergency jump he has to make. And it just gets so much attention from the media that TV stations want to get him in for interviews, and his boss agrees to have him in a documentary. And thanks to that documentary, he's able to get back in touch with his first love, someone who just up and disappeared on him that he has missed for 8 years. And after he reconnects with this person, he finds out that this person has a 7-year-old son. And then the title has to do with an agreement that they make. He agrees to stay on and do the documentary that his ex is the one in charge of, if in exchange for that, he will go on 7 dates with him for the next 7 Sundays. But I really enjoyed this one. This story was really fun through volume 1. It has a lot of humor, a lot of really cute scenes because of his ex's little son is so sweet. But then after I finished this, I continued with the digital release and read through the end of the series, and volume 2 gets a bit more serious as it looks into their past and all of the challenges that his ex went through as a teen and as a young adult, and it's just really moving. In addition to being really cute and funny and sweet, it's also takes a good look at the challenges and trauma and pain that they had to go through as well. But looking forward to, honestly, the volume 2 cover reveal. I really want to see what it is, if it's going to be like connecting. I hope that the other guy is on the volume 2 cover, but July 21st, this one releases and it's super cute. Go check it out. Next is a BL novel that I read and really enjoyed, and it's actually a Western MM novel. I've only seen that written like Western MM. I don't know if you say MM or if you say male romance. But it's basically a BL written in the West. So rather than being Japanese, Korean, or Chinese, it is written by a Westerner. And this one in particular is set in the US, in the Midwest. I can't remember if it's like Indiana or like Wisconsin or something like that, but it follows these 2 guys. One of them is a disabled vet who suffers from PTSD after having been a prisoner of war for 3 years. He was a rescue helicopter pilot who was shot down in enemy territory. And then when he escapes, he's shot down a second time and has so much lasting physical, emotional, psychological trauma that he now carries with him. The story picks up with him going to weekly therapy sessions begrudgingly, just not really having motivation and purpose in life and feeling like he has things to live for. And he meets this other guy who is an accountant when he makes a purchase on Marketplace from him, like a desk, I think. And when he picks up the desk from him, he recognizes him as a collegiate athlete that he was a big fan of before he went overseas. And this guy turned down offers to play football professionally when he finished university because he just wanted to have security and stability. He opened an accounting firm and just was happy and satisfied living a kind of boring life compared to being famous, being rich. That's what he wanted. But this story is just this one book, and I enjoyed it so much. I actually read the ebook on Kindle first because I didn't know if I was going to like it. And I made notes as I read through the whole thing. And as soon as I finished, I ordered a copy of the paperback and went through and kind of read it again to add all of my tabbing in because it was just so impactful. Like, it's not really angsty. There isn't a lot of drama. It's very much just each of them having challenges that they face and finding solace in each other. They're both straight. They both view themselves as hetero bros. And so they're both surprised at the attraction that they have for the other. But then to his surprise, this guy who seems to have his whole life together has a lot of baggage that he's been living with and struggling with as well. So it's just very much them each finding their person who makes them feel safe and listens to them and helps them to heal from all of their past wounds. So really beautiful story. I'm really excited. This was the first title that I've read by this author. And I am planning to read another one already. I'm debating if I want to read it with the ebook and then have to go through the same thing again for picking up a physical, or if I'm just going to pick up the physical so that I can tab it with my first read through. But really looking forward to reading more of their work. I'll hold this up if you want to read the official blurb because that's probably more concise than what I just gave. But really enjoyed this one. Highly recommend it. If you have Kindle Unlimited, definitely check it out. But even just like buying the paperback on Amazon is like, I think it was like $10. So Uncharted terrain. All right, I have a bit of danmei now to go through. So I got volume 1 of Demon Venerable Also Wants to Know. I read this one right away because the pre-order window was open for volume 2, and I was just like, if I don't like volume 1, I won't pre-order volume 2. But if I like it, then I'll pre-order volume 2. And I pre-ordered volume 2. I overall enjoyed this, but while reading, I kept like not liking things, and I kept thinking, okay, I'm not going to pre-order volume 2. And then I would continue and I would like it more. So ultimately I did like it, but I think it will kind of depend on how volumes 2 and 3 go. This is going to be 3 volumes. This was a really interesting design choice that they did like a open edge binding. I don't like it. It just like it curves so much, and then while I'm reading I just kept feeling like my book was gonna fall apart. But then this is like fabric, and it's like it's fraying so much. It's kind of annoying. But I love the art. I love the art and I love the main characters. So there they are. This is those two. So the main guy is the sect leader of a demonic sect. He's lived for a long time, hundreds of years. He's extremely powerful, and I don't remember how old this guy is, maybe like 100 years or something. But he found him when he was a human, and he was just about to rot with a bunch of dead bodies after his village was attacked. And he rescues him, and he becomes his most trusted underling. Because it is a demonic sect, there are a lot of really powerful individuals, including these two. This is her and then her in disguise, so it's 2 people. But they both are constantly trying to get the jump on him, because if someone can take him out, then they become the new sect leader. And he's just like, okay, keep trying. He is not intimidated or afraid at all because he's so powerful. But the series starts with him going into seclusion, not to train, not to work on cultivation, but to read a romance novel that he found. And the romance novel follows a female lead who is in a righteous sect, and just everything that happens in her life, all the ups and downs. She's really a ridiculous character. But it's important because it is the life he's living. All the things that are the main important things in this girl's life, he is a side character in the background, and they're all things that have been happening. So he's able to get a glimpse into his future. He sees that he falls in love with this female lead and ultimately dies. But then he's most surprised when he finds out that after his death, his subordinate, who he didn't give that much thought to, when he finds out that his subordinate basically goes crazy upon finding out about his death and just starts taking out everyone who was involved with it to basically get his revenge, and he's just like devastated. And so reading all of this, he's like, dang, I didn't know he cared that much, that he was so loyal. So then after his time in seclusion, reading the novel, he comes out and he's like, okay, I'm gonna focus all my attention on this guy now, help him with his cultivation, help him to become stronger, because I know now that I can trust him, that he will be just fiercely loyal. And then in addition to that, just like, okay, and I need to find this female lead and do everything I can to like avoid any romance flags with her and just nip that in the bud, because I don't want anything to do with that girl. So I love the plot line. I love their relationship. This one's from Haitang, so it doesn't have like a ton of art, but every chapter header has the main character Wenren E. I don't know if I'm saying that right. Wenren E, and then like a stage play of the characters that are in the chapter and what they're doing. So it's really cute. But then there are a couple illustrations as well that I really like. This scene was really funny. I love their dynamic with each other. I'm so excited to see how it continues in volume 2. But if I didn't like them, or if I didn't like the art, if I wasn't intrigued by the plot, then I wouldn't have liked it as much. There are a lot of times that the story just like has really dry info drops, or like the story will kind of stop and there'll be like a big world building passage that is just kind of boring. Also, as it's talking about the different characters and their like level of cultivation, it just keeps referring back to like cultivation terms. And like, this isn't the first cultivation series I've read, but it was so distracting. I would be like pulled out of the story for it to like go through all of this stuff. And I don't know, it just didn't feel like it wasn't woven into the story fluently, to the point that I found it distracting. Like, I said this to someone on Instagram. They were like, oh, really? I didn't find it distracting. And I'm like, okay, well, I did. And then the other thing I didn't like was that there are a few events in this first volume where there's like build up to it. And it's like, this thing is so important. And then as it gets to the event, then it's like, the event has started 3 months later. And then it just skips the event. And then build up to the next event. Oh, this upcoming event is so important. And then literally like it starts and then it's like 10 years later, this. And I was just like, okay, like I guess it wasn't that important if this story can just skip over it. But because of that, I kept going back and forth about how I felt about this story. And even like the plot, I was just like, this girl is so irritating, the female lead that is from the romance novel, because she's just like so addicted to her childhood friend who just mistreated her whole life. And she's so blindly in love with him when he's a terrible person. And so it was really annoying reading through the story. But then there is kind of a development in the last like quarter of the book that made it really exciting. So now I'm kind of excited to continue into volume 2 to see where it progresses from there with that plot line, but then also because I really like the main 2 guys. So that's all I have to say about that. This came with some extras too, and I already put them away in my merch binder. So I did do a YouTube short that I think I showed some of the extras, but yep, Demon Venerable also wants to know. I also wanted to share, I've been trying so hard to remember to keep these out until I could do this haul video, because I almost put it away in my merch binder. But I got the bookmark for Heaven Official's Blessing and the sticker sheet from the paperback special edition release. So a couple of months ago, I had picked up the 8 prints from the special edition release that have the paperback covers. So I'm collecting the hardcovers and not the paperbacks, and they have different illustrations. So I wanted to have those cover illustrations that were on the postcards, so I got those. But then that listing didn't have these 2 items, so I separately got these, as well as the 2 posters that came with the special edition. So I'm really happy now that I secured all of those. I love the hardcovers. They're so beautiful, but I like the art on the paperbacks and wanted to have those as well. So, Beef Leaf! They're so cute. But yeah, happy to have these. And then next, a couple items from Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation. So I got volume 5 of the hardcover release. It released the last week of May, and I only just got it like this week. I was so annoyed. So I make most of my pre-orders from Barnes & Noble, and they don't ship before release. Sometimes they ship after release. So releases are usually on Tuesdays, and I usually don't get a shipping notification till Wednesday. Years ago, I used to get all my releases the week of, so it would release on Tuesday, and I'd get it by Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. But in the more recent, like, year and a half, it varies depending on where it ships through. So I always watch the route whenever a new release is shipped. And if it goes down one path to this city, I know, okay, it's going to take like 2.5 to 3 weeks to get to me. But if it goes this way, then it might get to me in like 3 days. So I was so disappointed when this one went the one route, and I was like, okay, I'm not going to get this for 3 weeks. But I had said earlier in the video that I had finished reading this week, and it was actually last month in May I finished the main story. So this last volume still had 3 chapters of the main story, and then the rest was extras. And when I finished volume 4, I was so just like distraught over how it ended. And I was like, it might be 3-4 weeks until I get volume 5. So I just got the ebook for volume 5 and finished the main story because I was desperate to find out what was going to happen. Like, volume 5 released some time ago. That this being a new release is just because it's the hardcover edition. But yeah, so I was desperate to see how the story ended. So that's why I finished the main story last month, even though I just got this. But I didn't read the extras because I really wanted to have the experience of reading from my physical. Also because I've been tabbing. I love the sprayed edges, but I still wanted to tab, so I tab inside the page edges like this. And I read the physicals for volumes 1 through 4. And even though I read these 3 chapters from the ebook, I then paused and waited till my physical came and went back through these chapters because I had taken notes because I knew I would be transferring my notes over, and re-tabbed the pages and then continued from there. Honestly, like, I could have read the whole thing and then just moved my notes over, but I like to associate my memories with things. So I knew that if I read the actual extras from the book itself, it would be a special memory for me, that I would connect with this actual book. So that's what I did. And I love this cover illustration. This is my favorite of all of the hardcover cover illustrations. This one's my favorite. My next favorite is volume 1, just because I love them so much. And I'm not going to share all of the like features of, or not features, all of the details, like the sprayed edges on all 3 sides, the foil on the actual book itself, the end papers. I did a YouTube short where I kind of showcased all of that after I finished my read through. So you can check that out, but stunning release. It is noteworthy though that this volume 5 is like noticeably thicker than the rest of the books. And I didn't realize until I was like 70% through my read through that I think my copy is like, I think there's something wrong with it. I think that the binding is not like all the way to the edge. Like the last 2 bundles of paper of the pages, like I feel like I'm making it worse by doing this, but just to show you. See that? Anyways, I didn't notice until I was 70% through and I'd already been like putting my tabs in. So whatever, I'll just try to be careful with it. And then if it just falls apart in the future, I'll just buy a new one. But really sad that this is over now. I just finished it. Now I don't remember, yesterday or the day before. And last night and all day today, I've been doing nothing but reading fanfics. I love reading modern AU fanfics after I finish a historical series. Just, it's so fun seeing how like creative writers will take bits of their personality and just like build that into a modern day setting. And it's been so much fun. And I'm probably going to spend the next like day or two reading more fanfics. Like I have so much I need to read. Like I mentioned earlier in the video, I have all these novels that are just sitting there looking at me because I need to read them. They're on my TBR. But like, I just finished this and I just want to kind of let them stay with me a little longer. I love this series so much. I love them. So this was my favorite of the MXTX series, and he was my favorite character of all of the 3 series. But this one I actually got like a month and a half ago. I actually ordered it while I was waiting on the first and second volumes of the hardcovers before I even started it, because I just had a feeling I was gonna like it and I wanted to get this art book. It's actually like a poster book because it's so big. But it is stunning. It is like every other page is a double-sided illustration. And then every other page is like, I think, quotes. But this art is so pretty. So I didn't realize until I had gotten this in the mail, but evidently there is a magazine in Japan that regularly would feature MDZS. And this is all by the same artist. They would do these drawings, and these have all been cover illustrations for that magazine. So they collected them and made them into a book. It was kind of expensive to get this because it's like oversized, and I bought it from Japan. So that was like my most expensive order yet for shipping and tariffs. But it was worth it because I love it. And all of the resellers like in the United States all have it really expensive. So at least I bought it at a reasonable price and then paid an unreasonable amount in shipping and tariffs, but that's okay. So glad I got this. But there are quite a lot of illustrations that were on merch and I think other cover illustrations that aren't in here. So I really hope that I can get some of those prints one day, or maybe they'll release another art book. But it was really exciting as I read through the series. After I finished each volume, I would flip through and try to figure out which illustrations were relevant to that volume. But this is the name of the magazine, Pash. And then this is the name of the artist. And I know that this artist has done a ton of official art for this series with like the audio dramas, like making merch, like official acrylic standees, as well as like all of the covers for this magazine and just like articles about it. So really happy to have secured this. and that I got it early so that I could have it while I was reading this series rather than reading the series and then wanting to pick it up. But in addition to the art book, and now that I've finished the series and have all 5 of the hardcover volumes, I did go on a shopping spree this weekend and got a few more things I'm really excited to share when I get them in. I got a handful of acrylics. I'm kind of waiting to see how everything comes in because everything I bought was secondhand. And I'm just hoping nothing will be damaged or lost in transit. But in addition to like a few acrylics and like standees, I got a few other things that are really special and I couldn't believe it when I found them. I don't want to say though, because if I it's just like with anything that is really special, I'm just like, I can't celebrate until it arrives and is not damaged and is the correct item. So in a future haul, hopefully soon, I will have more MDZS merch to share. I have 2 books left, 1 more danmei. So There's Something Wrong with the Chief, Volume 3. I stopped everything I was doing and read this as soon as I got it. I've been loving this series. It's going to be 4 volumes, so 1 to go. I think I had mentioned in a previous haul that I read volumes 1 and 2 from the ebooks because I didn't know if I would like it because it was one that I hadn't really heard much about, and a lot of people, I guess, have been waiting until the series completes so that they can binge it, so there weren't many reviews either. But so I read volumes 1 and 2 of the ebook, and I loved volume 2. So I picked those up, and then I ordered this one to read from the physical so I could mark it as I went. And this volume was so good. So volume 1 starts with the 2 main characters as children. I think they're like 12 years old in volume 1 for most of it. Like for over half of volume 1, they're 12 years old. And then there's a time skip, and then they're 14 years old. So I couldn't really get a good like vibe from the story. Like, what's it going to be like for the rest of the series? Because they're not going to be children through the whole series. But even though they were so little in volume 1, they were so lovable, and I liked them as characters, but I just didn't really know what the story, like what the plot was going to be as it continued. But even now, after reading volume 3, like, I'm not going to tell you what the plot is because it was so exciting to read through, and just like every like 200 pages, like something shocking would happen, and then the plot would just like go in a different direction, and it was so exciting. And so volume 1 ends with them at like 14 years old, and then I think volume 2 starts with them around like 17, and then like a third into the volume, there's a time skip into their early 20s. And along the way, there's just so much devastating tragedy that both of them have to go through. They both suffer so much. But then the way volume 2 ended, it's like there's a little bit of hope, and it's like, where's it gonna go? So then volume 3, I was so excited, and it was so satisfying to get into this volume. So then this one starts with them in their mid-20s and continues into their late 20s. I love the main characters so much. And the cover illustrations are so pretty. All the covers are by Zelida. And volumes 1 to 3, Zelida did the inside illustrations, but I think volume 4, a different artist is doing the inside illustrations. But this is my favorite illustration in this book. Oh! But it's kind of funny because both of the characters are like, they're so different, and they've both like lived such different lives and had such just like opposite experiences. But they're like both kind of black flags, but then they're so lovable from the reader's perspective. So I cannot wait for volume 4. Volume 3 was really exciting all the way through, and it doesn't end like on a cliffhanger. Because, I mean, I guess it is technically a cliffhanger. But, like, you kind of, like, through the last half of the book, you kind of can see where it's leading. And then it just kind of ends, like, right before something is about to happen. So, I can't wait for volume 4. Like, I'm thinking about getting the ebook on release day so that I can read it because I know I'll otherwise have to wait for like 3 weeks for my volume 4 to come in the mail really slowly to me. It's really frustrating. I wish I lived near a bookstore so that I could just go in and get it on release day, but the nearest bookstore is like 3 hours away. So yeah, love this one. Cannot wait for the final volume. And the last book, I almost wasn't going to share this in my haul, but I thought, whatever, I'll just share it. So this is a biography for Fukuchi Genichiro, and it's by this guy. The title is Politics of the Meiji Press, and it's all about his life. Who is this? It is Fukuchi from Bungo Stray Dogs. I love him. He's one of my favorite characters in Bungo Stray Dogs, and I'll put an image up on the screen of my Bungo Stray Dogs shelf. It is like half Bungo Stray Dogs books and half literature that is written by my favorite characters, their real life counterparts. Because Bungo Stray Dogs, all of the characters are based on famous writers and poets and philosophers. And I have been loving going through and reading the works that were written by my favorite characters from this series. So my favorite characters in this series are Fukuzawa and Oda and Mori. And so those were the first ones that I was like, I am going to go through and see what I can find and read their work. And it's so cool how reading their works, and then in addition to reading their works, but like reading about the real people, like things that have happened in their lives, the motivations that they had that impacted their writing, impacted their decisions, the characterization of the characters in their writing, how Asagiri Sensei took all of that information and made them into fictional characters that have superpowers that are based on all of their writing and the characters in their books and stuff. It's so cool. It's so fun and exciting, but it's made it really exciting to like dive into Japanese literature. But unfortunately, I have not been able to find anything written by Fukuchi in English, translated into English. But I actually did read this book, I think 2 years ago. I had rented it from my library. They have a pretty impressive like Japanese collection of literature, autobiographies, and biographies, like in the university. And even though that is far away from where I live, it's all part of the same library system. So I was able to request a few things and they sent them to my local library. Then I am able to preview things and read things and then send it back and request other things. So this was one that I had requested, and I read it a few years ago now, and it was really exciting to be able to learn about the real person behind this man, behind this character, and to see how like his experiences in life impacted the characterization of his Bungo Stray Dogs character. At the time when I had read it, I really enjoyed the first like half of it because when he was young, he had interactions with Fukuzawa in real life. And that was really exciting to me. But a lot of the things that he did in life, I found a little boring. So it was kind of hard to get through the second half of the story, and it felt a little dry. And I was surprised because I have read a few of Fukuzawa's works. He literally was a philosopher, and I thought his work was going to be really boring to read, but I actually loved it. My first of Fukuzawa's literature that I read was his collection of essays on women and all about women's rights in Japan in the 1800s. And I loved it. It was so exciting seeing these essays he was writing and printing publicly, like shouting for women and calling out all of the terrible things and prejudices that these men in power were doing, trying to hold them accountable for it. So I went in thinking it was going to be really boring and dry, and I was like, I don't care. He's my favorite character. I'm going to read this whole book, and I loved it. So anyways, I also really like Fukuchi and wanted to have a piece of him in my collection. I'm going to try to do more research to see if I can find something of his, like his actual writing, because this isn't written by him. This is a biography. but I'm happy to have it in my collection now. And I was so impressed. This is a really, really nice copy that I was able to find. The condition of the book when I opened it, I was so impressed. And a lot of the copies that I saw were like super yellowed or had a lot of writing in it. This one just has some writing in pencil, so I could erase that if I wanted to, but just really clean. The dust jacket is in fantastic condition. A lot of the copies didn't come with the dust jacket because it had gotten lost or damaged. So really happy to have this now. I was going to just like really briefly share this, but whenever I start talking about Bungo Stray Dogs, I go off on a tangent about the literature and what every character, like the characterization, how impressive it is. I'm so impressed by the mangaka. Well, I say the mangaka, but it's a writer-artist duo, so really impressed with the writer that he brought this whole world to life based on these like literary figures, and just like rather than making the character based on the person and it just is the person, it has so much to do with all of their writing and like things that happened in their books matter for like the character. It's just so cool. It's so exciting. So I always have to say when I get a book that I'm adding to my Bungo Stray Dogs collection by an author, I always have to say, if you like Bungo Stray Dogs, you should definitely try to find some writing by the real person your favorite character is based on, because it's such an exciting experience. So definitely try to do that. So that's everything this time around. Hope you enjoyed watching. I felt like this haul wasn't quite as big as my last couple hauls, but I got carried away because I got excited talking about a couple of them. So I really hope that if there's a series that you hadn't heard of, maybe you will be tempted to give it a try. Let me know in the comments if you've read any of these titles or if there are any that you're planning to check out. But I'll see you again soon in another video. Thanks for watching.